that you've been publishing since 1978, so that's quite a while. Can you pinpoint any ways that publishing has changed?
Well, it has changed a whole lot since then, because when I started writing, I wrote using a typewriter and
I
printing
can't
everything
imagine.
out and mailing it off. You mailed it off. So
Yeah.
that's changed a lot.
Welcome to the Bookish Introverts Podcast. Join host Amazon bestselling author Brett Nelson and avid reader Melanie Dyer as they dive in to review books they've read, then chat with the amazing authors behind them. Quiet minds, big bookshelves. You don't want to miss it.
Hey everyone, it's Brett, and we are back, and we are starting our summer-long author event with Baker Publishing Group. And for those who aren't familiar with them, Baker Publishing Group is one of the biggest publishers in Christian fiction. So over the course of the summer, we will speak with about 23 different authors who write in all sorts of genres, everything from romantic suspense to historical fiction to rom-com. So we got a little bit of everything for everyone. So to kick off our summer event, today we have Miss Ann Gabhart with us. She writes historical fiction. So Ann, I want to invite you in and come in and say hi to everybody.
Hello, everybody. I just love to talk about books and about my book, and I know we're going to have fun talking about that.
Absolutely. I think we'll start off by giving a little short bio on you, and then we'll launch into a few questions so readers can get so they can learn a little something about you, and then we'll launch into your book, your newest book. So you started writing when you were 10 years old. You were first published in a writing periodical, a church periodical. Your first novel, A Forbidden Yearning, was published in 1978. You've published over 30 novels. You're married with 3 children and 9 grandchildren, and you've been going to the same church since you were 17. Does that sound about right?
You got it.
You got it.
I think this new book is actually 39.
39. Oh, my goodness. Does that feel unreal, 39?
Oh, it does, because, I've never wanted to do anything but write, and I've always wanted to write stories that other people will read, and to do that, they have to be out there for the readers, and so I am very pleased to be able to have that many books out there for readers.
Yeah, that's amazing. Okay, now you started writing at 10. Tell us a little bit about that. That's really young to start writing. That's interesting.
Well, when I was a little girl, I loved to read, and when I realized that somebody was responsible for those words in a book, I sort of thought that would be fun to do. And I was a big Hardy Boys reading fan, and I wanted to be
Me
like
too.
the Hardy Boys. I didn't want to be a Hardy boy. I wanted to be a Hardy girl and solve mysteries. So I grew up on a little farm, and there wasn't much mysterious going on then. And so I decided to write a mystery about some mystery on the farm, starring myself, a much cuter, smarter, and much less shy me. And my sister and cousin were my sidekicks. And so we had a lot of fun with it. I never got it finished. I got us trapped in a cave, and we're still down there trapped in that cave somewhere.
You're still trying down there waiting for somebody to come and save you. I love
we'd
that.
have had
that
to get off ourselves. We'd have had to get out ourselves,
Yeah, we're not waiting. No, we're not waiting around for someone to get us out of a pinch, right? Oh my gosh, I love that. Another thing that really kind of stuck out to me is you've been going to the same church for 17 years. Which is kind of an uncommon thing in these days. There's a lot of church hopping. And on your website, there was a picture of your little church. And you said that usually it averages about 100 to 80 to 100 people, which to me is the perfect size church. I grew up, I remember the very first church that or at least the first church that I remember going to, it was the same way. It was a small church, and we've always gone to smaller churches. So just seeing that little picture of your church, that just brought back very fond memories of Oliver Springs Baptist Church from when I was little.
I like going to a small church where you are all sort of family. You all connect. We don't have very many young people right now, which we'd need that to keep the church going. But the ones that we have are very faithful, and that's a good thing.
And that's a good thing. Yeah. And I think a church just feels younger when there's younger people there. So it kind of helps you feel younger. Yeah.
Well, somebody called us a senior citizen church, so that might be more apt. I don't know.
Well, that's all right. That's all right. You're as long as you're worshiping the Lord, that's all that matters.
That's the truth.
So I'm wondering, are people impressed by the fact that author Ann Gabhart goes to their church, or is it like, that's Ann?
I think it's that's Ann.
Yeah, yeah.
I do have some hometown readers though that have known me all my life, and I think they just say, "Well, that's Ann,"
Yeah, it's funny. I think I can probably count on 10, because I'm an author myself, and I think I can probably count on 10 hands how many people that I know have actually read my books. And sometimes my mind, the scripture in the Bible where Jesus said a prophet has no honor in his own hometown. Not calling authors prophets or anything, but sometimes I feel like nobody cares, the people that know me. So probably that's not how it is, but sometimes that's kind of how it feels.
Well, I think when I had my first book out, everybody was really excited, and then I kept publishing more books, and after a while they're going, she surely doesn't expect me to buy a book every year, come on.
Come on, it's one book a year. Open up that wallet a little. Now, and was that the one you wrote in the 70s?
Right.
That's the one you wrote in the 70s? Okay.
My first inspirational book was Scent of Lilacs, and it was published in 2005. And that was sort of a new beginning for me. And sort of I got more new fans and more new hometown fans then, too. So I do have quite a few loyal hometown fans.
Yeah, sometimes it takes a little bit for the word to get out. So speaking of loyal hometown fans, you had a book signing today, a local book signing down there. Take a little minute to tell us about that. How'd that go?
Well, it went really well. I was surprised. You never know how many people are going to show up. You might go and just sit there with your books and hope somebody shows up. But I was pretty busy. I went at 11 and quit at 2, and I didn't have a time when I wasn't really busy. One lady came from probably 45 minutes away, and she was just giddy to meet me, and I'm just going, I'm just me. But it was fun. It was fun. Yeah. She had a whole pile of books that she brought for me to sign, and so that was fun too.
Oh,
and I had
it's
some
fun
hometown
to meet them.
I had some hometown people too that read all my books that showed up every time. So that's good.
Yeah. So is there like a local bookstore, I guess, there that you sell your books, or?
But this isn't actually a bookstore. It's actually, they have a lot of food items. It's sort of a unique little store called Tastefully Delicious. And it's sort of a unique store with all kinds of unique food items or high-end pasta and nuts. And then the lady that owns it, she bakes, she makes cakes and pies, and she's an artist with her cakes. So most of the items are food items, but they do have a little gift shop with some gift items, and they carry some Kentucky books, and they carry mine or Kentucky books, so that's good. They're always very supportive.
So people come around when they know Ann Gabhart's in the building.
They did today.
So you live in a small town in Kentucky, right?
Well, I live out on a farm, so I'm not actually in town, but it's the town that we went to when I was a kid was a small town. It's sort of a bedroom community to a bigger town where a lot of people work in Lexington or Frankfort. But we have some commerce in our area, but most people have jobs out of town.
Well, I read on your website that you live about a minute from where you grew up. So now, are you where you live? Is that considered the Appalachian Mountains?
No. We're on the edge of the Bluegrass region. The Appalachian area is more to the east of the state.
Okay.
And Kentucky's a long state, so you go from the Appalachian Mountains on the east side to near the Mississippi River on the west side, and I'm sort of stuck in the middle. Lexington's a bluegrass area with horse farms, and our farm is not a horse farm; it's more of a dirt farm with cows and hay and that sort of thing. But we're sort of on the edge of the bluegrass.
Oh, okay, gotcha. The reason I asked that is because a couple of weeks ago, I read one of your former books or one of your older books, These Healing Hills. I think that's the name of it. The one about the midwife.
Nurse.
Yes, that was a phenomenal book. I'm a relatively new reader to historical fiction. One of the questions I was going to ask you about that book was, and we're just going to talk about it just for a minute because that's not, we're here to talk about your new book, was Appalachian. I've heard people pronounce it Appalachian and Appalachian. So is it Appalachian?
It's Appalachian. It's got a latch in the middle. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Appalachian. Okay. And the book, These Healing Hills, takes place in the Appalachian Mountains. It's got like a guy in it. He's coming home from a war. He sort of runs into this midwife. She's kind of a city girl that's new to midwifing in the Appalachian Mountains. So she's always getting lost. Anyway, it was just a super good book. I really enjoyed it. So yeah.
Well, I enjoyed the research for that. Mary Breckinridge, that started the Frontier Nursing Service in Leslie County in Kentucky. She was an amazing woman, and she saved a lot of babies and a lot of mamas' lives in that area by bringing in those midwives.
And she was in the book. Didn't you depict her in the book?
I did, and actually I wrote another one called An Appalachian Summer so that I could stick in a little more history about Mary Breckinridge in it. So I really admired her.
Okay, I didn't realize she was an actual real person, so that makes it even more interesting.
Oh yeah, she was she was actually a socially prominent woman, but she lost 2 children, and she decided she wanted to do something for mothers and children, and she she was in France and saw the midwives and what they could do there after World War I. And so she decided to come back to America and see if she couldn't find a place and start something like that in America. And so she went to the mountains, and the mountain people aren't always real friendly to outsiders, but they loved Mary Breckinridge.
Are they not? Yeah, well, and in the book, she sort of encountered that some, but it was just a phenomenal book. I really enjoyed that book. Yeah. So what made you, is it just because you knew about the historical figure of the Mary, and was that sort of what made you want to write a book that dealt with that topic?
Well, when I try to come up with new ideas for my historical fiction, I've always wanted to do them in Kentucky. So I just sort of go out and try to find a interesting setting or an interesting historical event to be able to set my books there. And so the Mary Breckinridge was a great idea because of what she did. But, I've got other historical books that have been in the Appalachian Mountains too. I've got one about the pack horse librarians during the Great Depression area, and then some about a teacher going to a mission teacher going to the mountains. So I enjoy writing about the Appalachian people. I think I have a lot of connection with them because I love my farmland, and they have roots deep in their land. And so even though I'm not in that area, I do have a lot of the same ideas about land and farmland and family.
Have you visited the Appalachian Mountains?
Oh, yeah. It's not that far away. It's about a 2-hour drive for me. So I've been down there, done research a few times, and just been there just because it's in Kentucky, and sometimes you go through there to get somewhere else.
I bet it. Yeah. To get from point A to point B. So I want to kind of touch on the fact that you've been publishing since 1978. So that's quite a while. Can you pinpoint any ways that publishing has changed since 1978 to now? I'd be interested to see your take on that.
Well, it has changed a whole lot since then, because when I started writing my first books, I wrote using a typewriter and printing everything out and mailing it off. You mailed it off to this editor, and then that editor, or you mailed it to your agent if you were fortunate enough to have an agent. And then the editors read hard copies. You don't do much hard copying anymore. Most everything is done electronically now. and you zap it off and it's there right away. And you either get the, yeah, I like it, or the, yeah, I don't, really fast sometimes too. So that's changed a lot. And publishing is, of course, Christian fiction has just taken off in the last maybe 30 years, probably. I don't know how far back to go on that. But when I started publishing in the Christian market in 2005, there were quite a few authors, but nothing like now. There's so many good authors out there now publishing Christian fiction.
Yeah, it's almost hard to know where to even start because there's so many of them.
There are, and really good authors, most of them too.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Tell the listeners, what's a day in your life look like as you write? Like, do you have like a certain word count a day that you try to write, or like kind of what's that look like?
Well, it varies. Like right now, when I do have a deadline coming up, if I don't have the book finished already, I try to do at least, well, like I said, I started out on typewriter, so I don't do the word count as well as I do page, even though it's a page on my computer. So I try to do 5 pages, which would be probably 2,000 words, maybe. Anyway, I don't worry about the word count as much as my pages for me. But if I can do 5 pages a day, it adds up. I mean, I usually take a little time off after I write a book to catch up on all the things I had to put off while I was doing on that deadline. But I usually get up in the morning, do a little social media. I have a blog that I write in a couple of times a week that you can find on my website, annhgabhart.com. I also have a newsletter that I do. I do numerous giveaways and enjoy talking to people on Facebook. That's probably my author page on Facebook is my most used media. I do Instagram, but I'm better at Facebook, seems like. But I enjoy talking with other readers, and then I try to do my 5 pages, and according to how long that takes is how long I'm at the typewriter or the computer. Yeah. Got to keep my fingers on the computer.
Exactly. Yeah. So do you miss the typewriter days, or are you happy for computers?
No. Yeah. No. Yeah. I sort of miss the hard copies. I mean, back when I was doing typewriters, I had the hard copy, and then I would edit on that hard copy. Well, on a hard copy, when you mark something out, it's still there. You can still see what you marked out. When you take it off of a computer or off your word processor, you don't have it anymore. It's unless you keep multiple copies, which I don't. So sometimes you're wishing, I think I like that other one better, but I don't remember exactly what it was. So that's a difference. That's a difference. But no, I like a word processor.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I can't imagine writing a whole book on a typewriter. Like, how did you, like, if you made a typing mistake on a typewriter, how did you did you have to retype the whole page?
Well, they had little white paint you could paint. And then I used to have this tape that you could put on there and type the letter again, and it would take it off or not take it off. It wasn't very easy to erase. Generally, erasing just made a hole in your paper. But I did have the correction tape. So I did finally get a typewriter that actually had the correction tape in with the others that you could use the correction without having to get it out. But I was really glad to get a word processor. Much easier.
Thank goodness
easier.
for the... much easier. I did take typing. I did learn to type on a typewriter when I was in high school. But thankfully, typewriters were kind of on their way out when I was learning to use them. So I am kind of interested to know, as a historical fiction author, of course, most people today, what year did your new book take place, Elena?
The Pursuit of Elena. The Pursuit of Elena Bradford. And it's 1844, I think.
Okay. So none of us were alive in 1834. So
not even me.
Not even you. So, like, how do you tap in to an era that you weren't even alive? Like, is it from reading other books set in that, or like, how do you research that?
Well, I had to research. The book is set in Graham Springs, which was a sort of resort area where people went to take what back then they thought if they went to springs, places that had springs, that they could drink the water and it would heal different maladies that they might have, different health problems. And
Yeah.
so that place was actually a real place. And I was able to research it and research about springs hotels. There were many of them at that time because they were very popular. They were also sort of social places, so that the people usually, in order to go there, you usually had to have a little money in your bank account. So it was easy to find out about the place because of it being a real place. And it's not that far from me where it was, but I had actually researched it previously when I was writing one of my Shaker books called The Gifted. And I was, because they're not very, the Shaker village that I use for the setting of my Shaker books wasn't very far from this resort type area. And I sort of wanted to contrast the lifestyles. So when I was doing that research, I always thought, well, that would be a great place to do another story. So years later, I pulled out that idea again and started doing more research on Graham Springs and the owner, Dr. Christopher Columbus Graham, who was an amazing person, lived to be 104. They said he knew everybody that was anybody throughout his lifetime. He believed in exercise and he believed in his spring water. He thought this spring water would make people well. He was a doctor. Had actually gone to school to become a doctor. He was a frontiersman. He was a soldier. He was the country's best offhand rifle shooter. So he was quite an amazing man. And so I had thought that would be fun to research about him again. And that's one reason that I decided to go with this story.
So the book is called The Pursuit of Elena Bradford. So tell readers who... hold it up again.
There it is. I just got copies last week, so it's new to me almost.
Oh, okay. That is hold it up for a second. That is a beautiful cover. So for the people that are listening instead of watching, so there's a cover of a woman like with a parasol. She's standing under a parasol. She's up at the top of a flight of stairs, and then there's like colorful flowers and green grass at the bottom. It's a beautiful cover.
Thank you.
So do you have any input into what goes on the covers, or is that pretty much done by the publishing company?
They usually send a copy or send their first ideas out to the authors, and you have the right to say you like it or don't like it. Most of the time they want you to like it because they don't really want to start fresh. There's only been, Revell, which is my publisher, which is part of Baker Publishing Group, they do a fabulous jobs with the covers, and this one is a very nice one. It sort of has the atmosphere that I think is in the story, shows it in the cover. So I've always been pleased with almost all my books and covers and how well they do them.
And I don't know about you, but when I see the covers for my books for the first time, it is almost like Christmas morning. That is the best to see your cover for the first time. Do you think so?
Oh, I do. I think it's always one of the fun parts. Getting a title, because sometimes my working title doesn't turn out to be the title of the book. Some of my books have the title I came up with, but this one did not. The Pursuit of Elena Bradford was a suggested title, and I like it. It's very nice. So
what was the title before that? Do you is that something you can say? Do you remember?
I think my working title was The Last Dance, because there's a lot of ballroom dancing, and actually besides wanting to go back to Graham Springs, the inspiration for the book was a story about a lady who went to, this is the true story, a lady who went to Graham Springs. She gave a false name. She wasn't who she said she was. She was there one day that night at the dance. She danced with every gentleman. And of course, at that time, they didn't dance with the same partner. You danced with somebody different most dances. But she died in the last person's arms that she danced with. And it's been a mystery that no one has ever solved. And so my book has that mystery in it, as well as the character story that I have in the book.
Well, tell us who Elena Bradford is.
Well, Elena Bradford's family has gotten into financial difficulty. Her father died suddenly. He was a bank loaner. He'd obviously loaned himself too much money, and now they don't have any way to pay back those loans, and they're going to lose their house and their social standing, and have to not have the things that they've always had. So Elena is not married. She has never really found a man she wanted to marry. The very first line in the book is she's never met the man that she wanted to marry. And the second line says that her mother says she will. And the third line says her mother says she must. So her mother has decided that Elena is the way they're going to get out of their financial difficulties, because they're going to go to Graham Springs, where all these unattached, hopefully, wealthy gentlemen might be, and one of them will decide Elena will be a good wife, and therefore they'll have the way to get out of their financial difficulties. But of course, Elena's not really excited about marrying just whoever might have the pockets full.
Yeah, well, that's totally understandable.
So she has a sort of a 2 guys or 3 guys in the book that you don't know for sure who she might end up with.
Well, you have to buy it and read it and find out, right?
You do, right.
Yeah.
I'm not telling.
Well, exactly. That would take all the fun out of it if you did. So Graham Springs represents kind of healing and new beginnings for your characters. Tell us, as people read the book, like, what's your hope that they'll kind of take out of the book?
Well, of course, I always want them to be entertained by the story and to enjoy the story. I did read a review the other day that brought out some points that Elena learned to trust the Lord, and to more or less give her problems over to the Lord, and let Him help her find the way, or to know her path better by trusting in the Lord. This book is not real heavy on Bible verses and that sort of thing, but it's got that thread through it.
Well, and like you said, it doesn't have a lot of scripture in it. And for me, like, I love reading Christian fiction. I don't need a lot of scriptures, and I'm happy with just an underlying, but I did see a video on, I can't remember, may have been on Instagram, where this lady, she was kind of a book reviewer, and she made the comment that if it's a Christian fiction book and it doesn't have tons of scriptures and tons of references and blah blah blah, you're just a fraud author, and she doesn't have any good for you. And I was just like,
uh-oh.
This is why I hate social media, because it gives people a platform to be ugly. But I don't feel like it. I appreciate it and enjoy it when people do, but I just don't feel like it needs to be chock full of scriptures and preaching and blah, blah, blah.
Well, when I started writing, in thinking about writing for the Christian market, which I really wasn't necessarily thinking about that for the Sin of Lilacs. It was just about a preacher and his family. And so it was sent to a Christian thing. But what I like about writing in the Christian market is that you can put in that faith thread. It doesn't have to necessarily hit somebody in the face, but if it's part of the character's life, then it works out. Some of my books do have a lot of scripture in them, but some of them are much lighter on the actual written scripture in the book.
And as a reader, for me, I'm fine with it either way. So, but I thought it was funny that she was just like, "You're a fraud if it's not just full." I was like, "Hush up."
Well,
So,
obviously, she had a certain kind she liked and didn't like the other
yeah,
kind. People are all
yeah.
different.
Well, that's what makes everything interesting. If we were all the same, it'd be a boring world, wouldn't it?
Well, sometimes you think it might be better if they thought a little more like me, right?
Yeah, that would. Yeah, yeah. So Elena Bradford sort of finds herself during the story caught between duty to her family and to matters of the heart. Tell us a little bit about what's going on with that.
Well, like I said, her mother is expecting her to capture a wealthy gentleman to decide to marry her.
Okay, so that's the dilemma.
Yeah, that's more the dilemma. And she sort of has, there's also one of the characters is an artist. And
I was fixing to ask about him.
He has actually come to the Graham Springs for the same reason, only he wants to find a rich wife. And so he sort of thinks Elena is a rich girl, but of course she isn't. So, and then there's another character, Andrew. I'm already working on another book, and the names get all confused. But Andrew is there with a broken heart, so he's been thrown over by his former bride to be. And then there's an older gentleman called General who's out looking for a new bride, but Elena's not sure she wants to marry a guy old enough to be her grandfather. So she's got some dilemmas going on, trying to do what her family needs, but to also find a way to be happy herself. She's also an artist, and she wants to. She doesn't want that to be taken from her. The fact that she can draw and sketch herself.
Yeah. Is that something like that she wants to like do as a full-time job, or is that just more of a hobby for her?
Well, for her, it's a desire, but she's not going to make money at it. She's not that kind of artist that she would be able to really. At that time, I'm sure it was pretty difficult for a woman to find any way to make a living, to be honest.
Exactly.
Teachers, you could be teachers, and she thought about maybe teaching art, but money was just hard to come by for young women that weren't married at that time.
That's why they needed a man with comfortable pockets.
Needed a man.
So, and that actually brings me into sort of another question. I'm not one that reads like book reviews like on Amazon and such to know if I want to read a book, but like after I read a book, I'll go in and read reviews just to kind of see what other people are saying about it. And I see so many reviews where reviewers are like offended by historical fiction because it depicts women in a way they don't like, or because, historical times are different than they are today. So as a historical fiction author, how do you sort of answer to things like that when people don't quite understand how to read historical fiction?
Well, I think a lot of us, and I think I do as well, that I might not stick as close to how a woman's life really was at that time, because it might be something that didn't make a good story, because really women didn't have any rights. They couldn't vote.
Yes.
They couldn't really go out and get a job other than maid or school teacher or tutor or something like that. And there just wasn't a lot of opportunities. So my characters have a little more feistiness than maybe a lot of the women might have had, although I'm sure there were plenty of feisty women. But without a supporting father or husband, you would have had trouble doing that. In fact, I've read something about the women that fought for the women's rights to vote and to own their own property. At one time, women could not even own their own property. So you have to admire the women that did take up that first challenge and get out there and bring that to notice and say, you all have got to give us some credit. And at one time, they said that women didn't need education because a woman that got education, it generally made them go insane if they were too educated.
Really?
So, it was just a whole different world at that time. I try to make my characters strong and relatable, even though they're set in the older times. When they were still had to be strong, they still had to do a lot of things to make their families work well. So it's hard to exactly be. I don't know how people do those that they write about back in the Bible days, but I'm not sure I could do that.
Yeah. Yeah, and those are some of my favorite books. I've learned that I really love biblical fiction. So, as a historical fiction author, do you ever find yourself kind of tiptoeing around? Because I talked to another historical fiction author back. It's been several weeks ago. Because a lot of times I feel like some readers don't really understand how to read historical fiction, and they sort of read historical fiction through the lens of modern day sensitivities. Do you ever feel like you have to tiptoe around things that you want to write because you don't want to upset readers? Does that make sense?
But there are a few untouchable things that with slaves in that era, that sort of thing. There's some things that you do have to sort of try to go more lightly on, because people have changed their thinking so much, which is, some of that is really good that they've changed their thinking.
It is
so much. Yeah. And but I think when you're writing about a character and you've got family relationships, other than perhaps the father being much more the strong influence on a family, you still have those same family relationships between sisters and brothers and mothers and daughters, and romantic entanglements between people, from men and women, are probably somewhat the same. So people are people, in other words. No matter when they live, they're still people, and their feeling that they have for the Lord, whether they are interested in religion or not. So all of that is somewhat the same, even though it's set in a different time period.
Yeah. What are some of the Christian themes that lie throughout the book? Can you give us a little bit of insight into that?
Well, I think it's mostly the family loyalty and the fact that of her doing what her family wants instead of maybe what she wants. You have the things about the girl that dies, and there's some interest in that, about why that might have happened, and it's a little suspense, a little mystery toward the end too. So I think the faith thread is more just the trust in the Lord and try to do what you have to do for your family.
Yeah, and I love that. I think that's something that you can't say too much in a world like today. So is there anything else you wanted to say about the book before we get off here?
Oh yeah, I hope you'll read it and that you'll like it when you read it. It's got a lot of dancing in it, which I hope doesn't upset any Christian readers. You were talking about my little church. It started back in 1812 was when it was founded, and at one time, if you went dancing, you would probably get churched. So but the ballroom dancing is beautiful, and the dresses they wore were beautiful, and that's a little bit different for me, because most of the time my stories, it's about country people set in small towns and in the Appalachian, the mountain people. So I like to write small town stories. Even my Shaker books are still small town, because it's a small Shaker enclosed community. So this was a little different for me, but it was fun to write with all the ballroom dancing. I had to study up on ballroom dancing, because I'm not a ballroom dancer. So I had to do some research on that to see exactly how they might have swirled around that dance floor.
And I don't think a thing wrong with dancing. I know there may be a lot of people out there to do, but like, who was it in the Bible that it says he danced before the Lord? Was it David?
Yeah, it was David. He danced in front of the Ark of the Covenant back to the city. And of course, his wife did look out the window at him and think he was sort of gone nuts. So
She did. Well, that's true too. So I think it all depends on how you do it. So I think that'll be fun to read.
Dr. Graham at Graham Springs, like I said, thought exercise was part of being healthy. And so dancing is good exercise. And that was one reason that they had the dances, for the social interaction and also for the exercise that people got from dancing.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to just ask you a few little last questions before we get off here to give readers a chance to know you a little better. Do you have any auto-buy authors that, like, if their book comes out, you're going to buy it, whether you know anything about it or not?
I really enjoy the books I read by Rick Bragg, because he has that Southern humor. Laura France does some great books. I've enjoyed her books. I've enjoyed Suzanne Woods Fisher's that you talked to earlier. So there are a lot of good books to add to your to be read pile.
There are. You're definitely in good company at Baker, because there's some fantastic authors in that in that little family of authors. So if you could interview one person, living or not, who would that be?
I think maybe that C.S. Lewis would be a nice one to interview. Maybe Margaret Mitchell, just to see. They say she wrote that book on scraps of paper in her closet, just to see how she got that all organized into Gone with the Wind. So there'd be lot of different people, that you could enjoy reading. I don't know.
Yeah.
Enjoy meeting, so that you could pick their brains a little bit, or just be like the lady that came this morning that was happy to see me. I would probably be really happy to see them.
Yeah. What do you think is one of the most difficult things that authors face today?
I think probably just is such a crazy market right now. But the first thing you got to face is to actually finish your story, get to the end. You don't want to just give up. You know, a lot of people write the one book and they think, I quit, but they more or less quit. Well, the thing to do when you finish write one book is to start planning the next book, and not worry about the possibility of it selling or not selling, because each time you write, you're going to get a little better. Your story might be more timely. Some stories that might be really good are just not at the right time. They don't find the right place, the right home. And now with AI, you just don't know what's going to happen next. So I think probably that's the biggest challenge to face right now, is to how people are going to handle AI, and whether you use it or don't use it, or whatever.
Yeah, for sure. And for me, I think too, I feel like people don't read as much as they used to. Do you think so? I feel like people are so immersed in technology and social media and stuff. I really feel like people don't read as much as they used to.
Well, I think actual printed books are making a rebound, because there for a while everybody was into the Kindle, and it is a lot of, you can have 1,000 books on your Kindle and just stick it in your purse. But I think a lot of people do like to just have the feel of the book in their hand. And so I think there are more of those maybe that have come back a little bit, even the young people, because so many of us are looking at a computer screen all day, so that when we relax, we might like to have a book. And then audiobooks are making a tremendous growth right now. People are listening to audiobooks. So I think that people are always going to like fiction, always going to like reading. I know I do, and I miss it when I don't. But then I do meet people that say, "Well, I haven't read a book for blah blah years," and I say, "Well, you should try."
I can't imagine that.
No,
exactly.
I gotta have my books.
Yeah, me too. There's not a day goes by. Now, as an author, sometimes I don't get to read as much as I would like. But
I don't either.
Yeah, you either. Yeah, but I do try to carve out a little bit of reading every day because I just love it so much. I just can't give it up.
Well, that's the reason I have started listening to a lot of audiobooks, is because I can do that while I'm doing chores, and it has really increased my reading amount of books I can read. Is because I can do that while I'm folding laundry or cooking, or sometimes taking my dogs for a walk or whatever. And I always like it when I'm taking a trip, because it makes the trip go much better. But
it does, yeah.
It's just, sometimes I wish that when I'm listening that this book might have been better if I sat down and read it, because it's not that it's not done good, but sometimes I have trouble remembering the names a little more when I'm hearing it in audio. Who was that character? And then you can't really flip back and see who that character was, because it was all in your ear anyway. But
it's the spoken word.
I actually did the narration on a few of my books that didn't get a professional contract, and so that was fun to do too. That was fun to do too. Sort of a different thing, give you a different view of writing when you're reading it. You're going, oh boy, I wish I'd have said that a little differently, or that's not as good as it could have been. But you just read it and go on.
Yeah, exactly. And a friend of mine, she's in the process of writing her first book now, and she finally let me read it, and she said, "But I just can't get it published because it's every time I read it, I find things that I want to change." I was like, "At some point, you have to just put it aside and say it's done.
You have to turn it loose.
You have to turn it loose." Yeah, but I have tried so hard. I want to get into audiobooks so much. I cannot get into them. Like, I'll be sitting there listening. Yeah, I'll be sitting there listening to an audiobook, and then all of a sudden I'm checking off, I'm like, do I need peanut butter? Do I need bread? Do I need egg? Like, my mind will not stay focused on the book.
Well, I do well if I'm up busy, if I'm busy doing other things, I'm reading while I'm doing these other things that don't take any thought really. I mean, it just takes your hands to do whatever, you're peeling potatoes or whatever you might be doing. So that's the reason I like them. My daughter loves them. She does them all the time while she's out gardening, and whatever she does, she's got a book in her ear all the time.
Yeah. Now, you said you've narrated one of your books. Which one was that?
Actually, I've done 7 now, I think. I did I did the Holly Hill books, which is Scent of Lilacs, Orchard of Hope, and Summer of Joy. And I did my Hidden Springs mysteries. They're cozy mysteries. And they were Murder at the Courthouse, Murder Comes by Mail, and Murder is No Accident. I did Love Comes Home, which is one of my Rosie Corner books that did not get a professional contract. So those are the ones that I've done so far. And I enjoyed the narration. I didn't enjoy the editing, but I enjoyed the narration.
The editing was never fun.
Well, now with writing, I sort of enjoy, once I get the book all written, I like going back and editing, as long as it's my idea to edit. Now, let's be clear.
Exactly. Yeah. Now, how many rounds of self-editing do you do before it goes to the publisher or to the editor?
I like to, when I write, I usually write a chapter at a time, and then I'll read back over that chapter and do editing somewhat then.
Okay.
And then at the end, when I finally get to the end of it, I like reading it all and then going back and editing chapter by chapter. Generally, then you send it off to your editor, and the editor has some good ideas for making it better too. And so you're doing more editing then, and then eventually you get to a editor that's helping you clean up little things you might not have done well in the actual writing, like run-on sentences, or having a pet word where you use the same word too many times and that sort of thing. So you have time to edit again, and then all those edits, and like your friend said, you're still seeing things that you could have changed. You could edit forever, and
you could edit forever.
You could polish forever, right?
Yeah. If you want to put it out there, at some point, you just got to call it done, because you'll never be finished with it. So do the editors ever recommend a change and you just don't want to?
Oh, yeah, surely. But,
Yeah.
Usually I realize that the editors have a better feel of the market. If something in the
Yes.
book, is jerk them out of a story, it's going to jerk a reader out of the story as well.
Yeah.
The best idea is to consider that overnight or for a day or two before you decide, oh no, I'm not going to do that. And then you'll see, well,
Yeah.
maybe that would make it better. And generally it can all
Yeah.
work out in the end. Now, there are times when you can argue for this or that scene if you're that invested in it. But I generally
Yeah.
try to take the advice of my editor. That's the reason they're editors and I'm an author.
Exactly. They're
So
experts in it. Yeah.
they
Yeah.
they
Yeah, go ahead.
they're supposed to be experts, so you assume they
Yeah.
know what they're doing.
Exactly. Yeah.
Most of my
Yeah.
editors have been very knowledgeable and very helpful in making my books better. I am a pretty
Yeah.
clean writer, though, and so actually, I had one book turned into an editor, and she made 2 notes about the whole book. So
Really?
that one
Wow.
wasn't hard. That one hard to edit at all.
Yeah. Wow. That is a huge compliment.
I was pretty surprised. But that was good.
Yeah, because I know when I get mine back from the editor, sometimes I just want to cry.
I'm a pretty clean writer, and usually when I have it finished, it's almost publishable at that point. Just needs a few tweaks and a little tightening here and there.
Yeah. Well, see, and this is a testament of what happens when you've been writing books for 40 years.
That's
and you've
true.
got 40 books under your belt. You got a lot of experience to work on. Yeah. And I don't know about you, but when I get something back from the editor, it really is helpful because in your mind, you think, okay, now I know not to do that again.
Right.
So
actually, some of my copy editors have really helped me improve my writing by pointing out this and that and other things. And I do try to avoid those same mistakes in the next one.
Yeah.
Like, repeating the same word too often or that sort of thing. I usually have a pet word and it'll change from book to book, but sometimes those pet words help your thinking go. And one of mine is just. I have to watch not to put just in there because I just like it. That's all I can say.
Sometimes you just need a just.
I just do.
Yeah. Well, this has been so fun talking to you. So what are you working on now? Can you give us just a little bit of a hint of what you're working on next?
Yeah, I went back to the Appalachian Mountains this time, and I have a girl, the main character in it, that missed out on going to school when she was young. It's set in 1911, and when she was young enough to go to school at that time, most of the Appalachian children had to walk to school, and there wasn't one close enough for her to walk to. And she's always wanted to know how to read, and she likes stories. She'd like to be able to write down her stories. And so the history part is the Moonlight schools that Cora Wilson started for adult learners in Rowan County in Kentucky. And so they called Moonlight schools because she had them start on full moon so that the people could walk to it. And they went all over the county advertising it, and they expected, she thought maybe 120 people would show up for that first night, and over 2,000 people showed up for that first night of adult learning. So there were so many people in the area that were just wanted to learn to read that hadn't had the chance as children.
Yeah, you are not going to believe this. Suzanne Woods Fisher and I just talked about that exact same thing.
She wrote a book about it. She wrote a book about it. And actually, I read for endorsement several years ago. The Moonlight Schools. I've forgotten what she named her book exactly. But anyway, it was about the Moonlight. Yeah. It was about the Moonlight Schools, and but mine has a little different take. Hers was more about the starter, Cora Wilson, than mine is more about the person that wants to read and her family
Oh,
difficulties.
okay.
And she has a romance.
Okay.
There's sort of a feud between their families, and there's a little girl that has a birthmark, and a lot of people call that the mark of the devil. And so there's a lot of family things going on besides the Moonlight School history.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, that sounds so good. I can't wait for that to come
I
out.
hope so. I hope I get to the
Yeah.
end.
Oh, I know, right? So I think the Pursuit of Elena Bradford, correct me if I'm wrong, I think it comes out May 6th. Is that right?
That's correct. That is. We
May
got them a
6th.
little early for this book signing today, but
Oh, good.
The official release date is May the 6th.
May the 6th. All right, good deal. So how do you celebrate? Like, do you do any kind of celebration when you get a new book out, or are you kind of like been there, done that?
A lot of times I'll have a hometown book party, which I haven't organized for this one yet because of that's little store, the Tastefully Delicious store in my hometown. I always let them be first since they carry my books there. But I probably will have a hometown book party in June, maybe. May's really busy for me this year. I got a granddaughter graduating college, and I got this book coming out on May the 6th.
Yeah,
and I got another
go
book,
out and buy it.
And I got another book that's due May the 15th. So it's a busy month.
Oh my goodness!
But it's a fun month, but a busy month. But
it's a busy month.
I don't do anything major to celebrate. I'm hoping
go out and have dinner.
I hope I'm celebrating on this one by writing the end on the one that I need to be finished.
Well, you just get in there and get on it. Well, when do you have to be done with that one?
Well, the initial deadline was May the 1st, but then the editor was going to be out of town. So now it's May the 15th.
Oh, okay.
I think,
so will that be like for your 2026
that
book?
Would be, if they like it and they decide to publish it, it would be next year's book in May, probably.
Okay. Now, what happens if they don't like it? They're like, what would you?
Then I cry, I guess.
And I doubt that's going to happen. But I was like in that event, would you self-publish, or would you just count it as a loss? And
most likely, when they have you under contract, they will help you try to make it publishable. I said, the editor will say, well, if you can do this, that, or another, and prove the story, which I've never had that happen yet, but I guess it's a potential possibility that it could happen. But I
have a feeling you don't have much to worry about on that.
Well, I hope not. I don't know that a writer ever thinks that while you're writing, you think your idea is a great idea. You get started, you get all carried away, and about the middle of the book, you're going, nobody's going to read this book. This book is awful. And then by the time you get to the end and you read it over again, well, that's not so bad after all, so that's how writers work.
That's how we work. Every book I've written, I was like, nobody's ever going to read this.
That's just what you always think.
Yeah, but somehow the Lord blesses it for us, and so and it's scary to put a book out there because it's a hard world out there. When you put yourself out there like that, it's a hard world.
Well, you really can't let what everybody say bother you, because you have to believe in your book. If you think it worked, then that's good. It worked. Yeah. But there's not everybody is going to like everything you do, and that's true no matter what you're doing.
Yeah, no matter how. I always say, okay, if C.S. Lewis and Francine Rivers have bad reviews, nobody is immune from it.
That's certainly true.
Yeah, for sure. Well, Miss Ann, tell people where they can find you on social media.
Well, I'm out there. You can go to my website, which is www.annhgabhart.com. On there, you can find my blogs. They're on the front. You see about all my books. You can go in and explore the books and see usually a a sample chapter, a sample segment from the books on the book pages. I'm out there on Facebook, Ann Gabhart on Facebook. I do Instagram. I used to tweet, but I've not been tweeting lately, so I lost my bird tweet, I think. So I do out there on BookBub, do a little Pinterest every once in a while. So just all kinds of interesting places to.
Do you ever check out? Do you ever check out your reviews like on Goodreads?
Sometimes Goodreads, I have looked at some of the reviews, but Goodreads is one of the places where you can find some that people don't like your books too. But it's better. I think I read once this advice from a writer. He says, if you want to read reviews, read the 5-star, 4-star, 3-star, because those are the people you're writing for. The ones that give you a 1-star or 2 stars are not your readers. They're not the ones that like your books. They're not going to be your audience. So I don't read all my reviews. Sometimes people will send me a review, just to tell me they reviewed my book. Most people that review books are very kind and find something good to say about your book. Reviews are very helpful, though. The more books the author the more reviews an author has, the better they do on social media.
They're very crucial to authors and their success.
In this internet world, they are. It used to be the only reviews really that books got were from magazines like Publishers Weekly or Book List or, professional reviews. Yeah. But now reviews by ordinary readers are very important to an author on social media. So that's the one way. If you got an author you like, somebody you want to support, a great way to do it is to buy their book or write a review. Even if you borrow the book from the library, that's good too, because I love libraries.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. If you get it from a library, if you borrow it from a friend, whatever, if you read it, review it, because it does help.
It does help. Now that I've got a friend.
Now that we've made our pitch, we did our authorly duty. I'll read my 3, 4, and 5 stars. I've got a friend that goes in and reads my bad reviews, and then she'll tell me if there's anything productive that I need to know, because bad reviews can serve a purpose. So, but yeah.
Well, I'll tell you about one of my interesting bad reviews. On my Shaker books, somebody, I think it was on christianbook.com, wrote this review about my Shaker book. I don't remember which one. She says, reading one of Ann Gabhart's books makes me want to wash windows. And you know what? I thought my publisher should go with that, because that takes me a lot to make me want to wash windows.
Oh, no doubt. I can think of a lot of things I'd rather do than wash dishes or wash windows. Yeah. Oh, my goodness. That's funny. Sometimes you just...
Makes me laugh.
Yeah. Sometimes you may as well laugh as cry.
Oh, well, that one was too funny to cry about. It was just a good laugh.
Yeah, that's funny. All right. We've been on here for a while. So you got any parting words for the listeners?
Well, thanks for listening, and I'm really always glad to talk about books. And my new book is The Pursuit of Elena Bradford, so you can give it a try.
Absolutely. It comes out May 6th everywhere, so run out and grab it and leave a review.
And a great place to look for books for Christian authors is the Baker Book House. You can find some great deals there.
You can. Well, and Suzanne and I were actually talking about that earlier. It is a great place, because a lot of times you can get them for 40% off, like for the pre, and yours pre-sale is probably the same for the pre-sale. Sometimes you get like little swag items, like sometimes they'll come with a bookmark. So what's the name of it again? Baker Book House?
Baker Book House. You can find it online. It's really it's not just Baker Publishing Group books. It's got other books too, but it's a beautiful bookstore. Yeah. I wish I was close enough to actually go inside it more often, because it's a beautiful bookstore.
I didn't realize it was a physical bookstore. So,
oh yeah, it's a beautiful bookstore. You can only order books from it, but they have a lot when you're there. If you go into the store, it's got all kinds of gift items and religious items, and they have programs a lot for authors there too. So it just happens to be in Michigan, and I happen to be in Kentucky. So
yeah, I'm in Arkansas, so we're far away from Michigan.
Yeah, so it's hard to get there, but it is a good place to go hunting books.
Lord willing, maybe we'll make it one day.
There you go.
Absolutely. So, all right. Well, it has been so wonderful talking to you. Thank you for taking the time to do this. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you, Brett. Thank you for having me over.
Absolutely. Anytime. So, and listeners, you can follow us on Bookish Introverts Podcast pretty much everywhere, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Go in and check us out there. And we've got another great author coming up next week. And I'm blanking on her. Linda Johnson. Yeah, Linda Johnson. She'll be the next one on the podcast. So come back to see what she has to say, and we will talk to you all next time. So we'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Thanks for joining us on the Bookish Introverts Podcast, where together we explore the worlds within the pages. Until next time, stay bookish.